right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of New Canaan Town Council regular meeting for Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 at 7 p.m. ish. Go to agenda item number 1, Pledge of Allegiance. Who would like to lead us in the pledge? Because I feel like I'm overstaying my welcome with our resident Eagle Scout.
I'm gonna get my bag. Yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Help me God.
Let's now get the roll call.
Janet Fonts, I'm here. Lena Lee.
Here.
Mike Morrow.
Here.
Maria Naughton. Zoom. Okay. Kim Norton. Here. Hillary Ormond. Here. Mike Rogers.
Here.
Christina Ross.
Here.
Heather Russell.
Here.
Eric Tunin.
Here.
Penny Young.
Here.
Jennifer Zonas. We have a quorum.
Okay, I will now call the meeting to order and move on to agenda item number 2. Public comments. Members of the public are welcome to speak to the town council on agenda topics scheduled for review and vote. Speakers are requested to provide their name and street address, and comments will be limited to 2 to 3 minutes, subject to the total number of speakers. Do we have anybody in the audience here? Anybody on? Not here. No? Okay. Well,
Can I say something? Can I make a public comment real quick?
Yes.
I just wanted to quickly congratulate the New Canaan High School boys hockey team who won the state championship last night. Yay. It was the first time since 1972 that we've won the state championship, and they've been the runner-up for the last 10 years. So this was a well-earned victory for them. Great group of kids. Great group of families. Just, I could not be happier for them. So I just wanted to recognize them for that. It was a really great victory.
Play the town next door.
We played Fairfield Prep last night. So
Oh, okay. Thank
we
you.
had, yeah, well, we did play Darien in the semis. I think in the FC. Yeah. So so we won that, and then they won last night, which was incredible. It was a really close game and really well played. So I just wanted to give them that. Congratulations.
Terrific.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Great news. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move now on to agenda item number 3, budget review. Review and discussion of the proposed town budget for fiscal year 2027, including a review of the following budget and line items. General government, 30 minutes, Ryan Stacy, and then New Canaan Library, 30 minutes, Ellen Curvato and Cheryl Capitani.
Good evening.
You do it.
Love that.
Mhm.
Good here. Okay. So my job tonight is to talk through general government, which is mostly town hall, excluding DPW, certain other departments, health, things like that. So this is the list up on the screen of what I'll be talking about today. This is a list of departments. And then on this page is the sort of internal, so health funds and debt service and things like that. There we go. Okay. To start with, we've got our non-departmental department, if you will. So we've got our non-departmental, which is volunteer tax abatement, which is a volunteers toward the EMS and things like that get some taxes reduced. So that's budget for that. And we also have a charter revision. This is a project, so we'll see this throughout the next year or so. But we can track all charter related expenses with this one project in the system. So that's the 28,000 for that.
Just did that.
keep getting things popping up on my screen. All right, first selectman's office. We are at a 6.4% increase year over year, driven primarily by some full-time salaries, 3.7% increase. And the economic development line, which is a $25,000 increase, primarily driven by the America 250 celebrations over the next year or so. In finance, we're at a 2.3% increase year over year. Primary drivers there, we have some salary increases, about 2.9%. You'll see on some of these lines, I may have described this prior, but some Social Security and 401 numbers don't line up with the salary increases. It's going to be calculation differences from year to year. Last year, they may not have included contingency in those numbers. This year, I am including that. So it's accounted for. It was probably in contingency last year. I'm actually putting it in the line item this year. So that's why the Social Security and 401A lines generally are increasing higher than the rate of the salaries.
Can I just ask a question? How many employees are in the department now?
That's right.
Yeah,
Six.
So is that a new thing, or has it been, I know that you're new, Ryan, but is that a new thing, or are you fully staffed at this point?
So the position,
Speaking to the
Oh, sorry.
microphone, please.
we are in the process of, we had someone leave and we're filling those positions. And then we have a position that was added last year that we're going to be filling for the purchasing agent.
So what's your how much do you have room for? Like, what's your desired number? That
Oh,
you,
we have what we need right now. Once
oh,
they're all
you
full.
have 6, but you could go to 8? You said you were filling?
Budgeted for
No,
7.
no, no. We have an open position right now that we're in the process of filling.
Okay,
And then we have a purchasing agent we will be filling. So our budgeted items are what we will be in place.
so you have 6 now, and you may go up to 7 by adding that person and the purchasing agent, or that 6 is included with those 2 new hires?
So the 6 right now is, in total, we have 7
Okay,
budgeted.
right.
We have an open position, right? 2 open positions. We have 1 because of someone left and we're going to be filling that one. And we have the purchasing agent. So we have our positions and we have 2 we're just filling
Okay,
We promoted someone
internally.
So that person's was promoted to a position. So that there's a person that is open, and then there's a purchasing.
Agent.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Good. I have a question.
Yes.
I know we approved a Board of Finance recommended salary increase for the first selectman in December. Is that correct? Earlier. Okay. To take effect this year, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Is that included in here? Okay. So that was about there was some math we all went back and forth on. It was give or take 2.5% per year each year over the next 2 years. The total line for that line is 3.7. So presumably there are some members included in that salary whose increases are greater than that 2.5-ish. No, just explain to me how the numbers work. Thanks.
Salary, remember we talked about this. It gets front loaded.
Okay.
You don't get a raise the first elected and any of the elected positions. So get salary increases. Like, so next year when all the staff gets salary increases, the first selectman's office does not. You only get a salary increase on an election.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But more generally, the salary numbers are going to be different as well, depending on the union people are in, depending on where people are. So what's included in salaries are step increases. So if you go from like step 2 to step 3 or something like that, that's included in this number. If you have a union contract that's in effect for fiscal 27, that's included in that number. But anything that isn't decided yet, so town hall union, town hall non-union, town hall union, police and fire don't have an increase built in.
Okay.
For those lines because they're not.
Thank you.
Yet. Software, you'll see again a couple things I did to sort of more appropriately line up our spending. Service contracts we removed from this department and moved that to a software subscription line. Generally, that's a $3,000 increase, 5.5% increase. We're seeing anywhere from 5 to 15% increases year over year for software. It's just kind of what it is right now. This will hopefully help us more easily track that going forward. Professional services audit was an increase of 4.3%. And our banking and transaction fees were reduced by $9,000, mostly to parking. But we moved the banking fees to the departments where that revenue comes in. So you'll see an increase on parking, a decrease here.
What does parking have to do with banking and transaction fees? I'm confused.
When they do a lot of transactions, so there's a lot of fees associated with those transactions
Oh,
from the
okay.
bank. So instead of having finance house those bank fees,
Right.
we just said you're going to hit the parking department instead
So we have a decrease in fees?
on the finance side.
Oh, on the finance side, but we'll see it come up in the parking side. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Tax assessor's office is a 3.1% reduction year over year. Primarily, there's some salary changes that happened here. So we removed part-time salaries from the assessor and the collector's office. There's a combined person that's a full-time person that's going to be working out of both those offices. We basically split it 50-50. So you'll see reductions in part-time, increases in full-time. So overall here is 3.1% decrease. You'll see on the collector side, it's a pretty big increase. That's that person.
Is that a permanent change?
My understanding, yes.
Please, yes.
Those two positions in the charter are supposed to be two separate positions. So how is this permanently being done?
So the current position, the department head is the director of taxation and assessment and taxation.
Okay.
We have a qualified tax collector in there and we have someone training that will be the considered tax collector. So you can be an acting tax collector until you have a qualified person in place. So the title of the person is the actual director of assessment and taxation.
So there's someone in training to become the tax collector?
We have a qualified tax collector in the office, and we have someone who's actually coming up the ranks that will be the tax collector, hopefully down in another year or so when she's qualified.
So this is not a permanent position.
The overall is a permanent position from both offices, the director of taxation and assessment.
Okay,
But-
but according to the charter, it's supposed to be two separate positions.
There is a collector, there is
The
an assessor,
assessor.
and then there's a
Director.
director of assessments and
Taxation.
taxation, which is not in the charter. It's a overarching, but there is a collector and there is an assessor.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions here? We can move on to tax collector. So this is a 33.5% overall increase year to year. Again, primarily driven by that full-time split person that was split with the assessor's office. We did remove the part-time salaries to sort of offset some of that. It does come with a pretty big increase in Social Security because the salaries increased, Social Security also increases. And we have a decent size increase, $4,500 to our communication software, which is a QDS software. And with all software, it's moving away from you owning something to you renting something, and it always costs more to rent something. So that's primarily what this is all about here. They're moving their software to the cloud, which is more expensive. Legal, $40,000 increase, 9.4% overall. The $425,000 retainer stays the same. We have two new items, $10,000 for the charter review. $20,000 of it is this year, $10,000 of it is next year. So that's why people might think there's a $30,000 legal number. That's partially split to 26 and partially to 27. And then there's $30,000 for the zoning regulation updates that we're expecting to come in the first half of next year.
Quick question, sorry.
Yep.
Where is the Charter Revision Commission 10,000 and the zoning regulation update of 30,000 on page 17?
It's just part of that 465,000.
Okay.
It doesn't, the line itself is just one line until we actually spend, then it gets broken out into the individual.
All right, thank you.
Human resources, pretty easy one, 1.6% increase year over year. 2.8% increase to salaries. Those Social Security and 401 numbers are slightly different, 4.7%, 6%, just based on the calculations we've done. Couple reductions, this is a tuition reimbursement reduction based on their expectations for the year. And there's a training line that was a little bit higher. They reduced that by $3,500, again, just based on what they'd expect and what the trend has been for the past few years.
I have a question about the software subscriptions. Is that the same situation you were talking about before with the cloud?
So this one actually stayed flat. It's a $68,000 reduction from the outside payroll processing line, 68,000 adding to the software subscription. So that actually is flat from year to year. That's just ADP.
So Kim, just
2026, it doesn't have any number.
Correct. It's a couple lines above that, outside payroll processing, 68,000.
you'll see a negative and a positive.
3 lines above that one.
Oh,
We'll give you the background on that, what Ryan has been doing. And so at the end of every year, we have to do what's called a UCOA filing with the state. It's called the Uniform Chart of Accounts. So we have been working through the past couple of years to get everybody to put things in the right categories. So a lot of things were going into outside consultants. So Ryan has done a lot of work in breaking them out. So it's now in software where it should be, so that when we report to the state at the end of the year, we're reporting true software as opposed to it being in another line where another town is putting it in there. So they want us to try and really break these out into the right categories. So that's where you'll see in some of these, you'll see a positive and a negative, usually around the same amount, because we're reclassifying that budget now to the line that the Uniform Chart of Accounts wants.
There's a few of those. Couple of departments are more complex than others where I was moving things around. So
Right. Okay, I
hopefully
got it.
straighten that out. That's HR. IT. You see that same thing. We have a service contracts line, and then we have a software subscriptions line, 2 lines down. So that's an offset, though it does come with an increase for software. So their salaries increase by about 5.6%, Social Security 9%, and then 401A crazy 88%. That's a calculation thing. Their newest employee, they calculated 0 for the 401A for that person for 26 for whatever reason. So that's in there as the real number now. And then service contracts, again, move to software subscriptions, 27,000 overall increase. The big drivers there, we are migrating, again, you can't own software anymore. You have to rent it from them. So we're migrating from an on-premises sort of Microsoft Office to the cloud version. It's going to be more expensive, but we get the updates. They mandate that if you want the updates, you have to go to this version. Otherwise, you're not safe and you're not secure. So you kind of have to do it if you want to use that software.
Is there a municipal discount?
I don't know the answer to that. I can check into it. I'm sure that
Should be.
I'm sure that Chris is working on whatever discounts are available, but I'll check. There's a mobile, the Jamf, I think it's called, for the management for the iPads that you all have. Just a piece of management software. It's new. And then Horizon 3 was in a capital budget in prior years, or last year, I should say, and it's operating this year. For software, we're allowed to do 1 year of capital, and then going forward, it has to be operating. So that's that 14,000 increase there. And a couple other things here and there to make up that number. Town clerk's office. This is one of the departments where I made a lot of changes, try to move spending to the right place. Those things. Not a lot of huge dollars changed here. I'll try to highlight a couple things. So professional services, we have a 4,450 increase there. That's primarily due to the law code and law changes that we expect for the charter revision later on in the year. So whenever the law changes, we have to publish that book. That's that process.
So that's in the town clerk's budget.
Correct. For that, for the actual
Booklet.
the book, exactly. And that's online as well as printed. We moved some things around, things like there were some office equipment lease that should have actually been office equipment repairs. For whatever reason, they were just being paid out of the wrong bucket. So I moved around an overall reduction there of about 9.5% for those 2 or 3 line items. Couple increases, the postage increase just based on trends. Advertising actually trended down a little bit. Ballot purchasing trended down a little bit. So overall, we're at a 0.9% increase year over year.
Quick question. When you move things around, what's the process for that? And what are the checks and balances to keep you from just moving things around however you want?
Fair enough. There is a pretty substantial document on the Connecticut website. Anna was talking about it's UCOA, a Uniform Chart of Accounts. Basically, they have guidelines for every kind of spending you could want, every spending, revenue, all sorts of things. But I'm primarily focused on spending right now. So you kind of look at like, all right, what kind of spend is this? Is this an office supply, or more generally, this is getting into the weeds. It's not important, but on every page, I'll go up a page. On the left side of all these pages, there's a 5-digit code. The 8-digit code all the way on the left is kind of the department, if you will. And then that second grouping of numbers, that's an account, an object code. that is the number that I'm using to help refine where that spending goes. So a 5.1, again, it's too in the weeds right now, but a 5.1 is salaries. 5.2 is employee benefits. 5.3 is outside purchasing. 5.6 all the way down at the bottom is supplies and things like that. So you get groups and categories and you kind of refine within there. So you have you have office supplies, you have landscaping supplies, you have all sorts of different supplies that you might have, and they each have kind of a coding structure associated with them. It's to help with our reporting, certainly, but it's also to help with our departments and our accounts payable staff to kind of make sure everybody's on the same page so that we're spending out of the right buckets. And there's it's supposed to create some more efficiencies where, we don't want things to be rejected for errors. So if it's right in the first place, we get to move it along faster and saves everybody time and money.
But clearly you're talking with Ann about it. And if the two of you have some question about it, you consult the statute. And if there's still some question, you talk about with other folks in town hall. And if you had to, you would seek outside counsel or help or whatever. I just wanted to make sure it got into the public record that you're not doing any of this stuff on your own.
Oh, sure. No.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's a state that like we said, the UCO.
I understand. Just want to make sure for anybody who's watching or writes an email next week and says, why did he do all that stuff?
Fair enough.
Watch
I
the
do
tape.
say I a lot, so that's
Thank you.
fair.
Thank you.
Are you actually transferring the money when you change the category? Do you actually have to do a monetary transfer to this 5-digit, code or whatever?
I'm not making any changes for fiscal 26. This is basically when we get the allocation for fiscal 27, then we'll start spending from those correct categories. Correct. The new categories.
So you're not transferring money. You're just going to start with a fresh slate for the next year.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Hold on, Maria.
I just was wondering, does the Board of Ed have similar categories for expenses and codes? Do they use that same uniform, UCOA or whatever you said it was called?
They're slightly different just in terms of, and I'll just speak very high level on them. They have called what's an EFS, their electronic filing system that they have to do at the end of August of each year. And that's an upload that they have to match their accounts to a state structure, similar, but a different process that they have to go through. So they follow their state statutes or their state requirements with how they link their accounts. There's a full upload for them that they link their accounts by what the state basically dictates where they go, and they report it that way.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Christina.
I have a question regarding departments, and I'm going to use the town clerk as an example because it's in front of us. When we approve a budget and there are line items for certain things, what happens when those line items don't get spent? They go to the Board of Finance and they get reappropriated to something else?
No. So if someone doesn't spend on one of their line items at the end of the year, we come in front of the Board of Finance and do a complete
To a line item
a line item transfer to the contingency. So it's all in one account. So you can see the savings for the year.
Okay, so in watching the videotapes from the Board of Selectmen, I've noticed that a lot of times in a couple of meetings, the town clerk and other departments were prevented from using monies that were in the budget for part-time workers or for other tasks. And I'm wondering, how ethical is it if we approve a budget that has line items and the department needs something? And I know this is a controversial question, so I'm sorry about that, but if we approve a budget, isn't the department able to spend the budget according to our approval?
So there's a budget for line items. So I think what you're referring to for a specific, if there's no budget for that expenditure, they have to get approval for an expenditure that isn't budget.
No, part-time workers in the department, whether it's for
If
elections.
it's not budgeted for, Christina, there has to be a pre-approval. If there's part-time workers that are not, everything has to be budgeted for. If there are workers that are not budgeted for, there has to be approval to be able to spend that money. So you can't just have people spending money that isn't budgeted.
Agreed, but from what I saw, these were monies that were in the budget.
I think you might have misunderstood.
So just to clarify, the part-time salaries are 25,000. So if the town clerk goes over 25,000, that requires approval, or but if you stay within the 25,000 budgeted, there's no approval needed.
As long as that person, so that person has to be approved
Approved.
by Human Resources before they can work. So there's multiple approvals. That person has to come through Human Resources, has to be approved through Human Resources. So nobody can bring someone in, pay somebody without getting approvals from Human Resources, and then they have to have budget. And if they go over their budget, they can't spend money that isn't appropriated. So first there has to be the HR approval, plus you have to have documentation on that person. They have to go through all that kind of stuff. That's just the way everybody in this
All
building
those
works.
people that we're talking about, we're working in the department. My issue is that if we as a town council approve a budget for the department on line items,
Right.
that money should be made available. And if not, we should not be approving a budget in which the Board of Selectmen can cut items and then do line item transfers. I think this is very
I think that you
unusual.
are misinformed on what's happening. I think you have one side of what's happening. I think if you'd like to come in, we can walk through all of it. I think you're getting one perspective on what's happening, and we can help you understand the full process.
Okay, I'll take you up on it.
Fine.
Okay, we can continue. Oh, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
The conversation's kind of moved on. You talked about IT, and then you talked about how you had to code things and stuff like that. And then I own a small business, and we use AI for QuickBooks and things. I mean, I still have an accountant, and I'll still have an accountant for a while, but you need them less and less. How's AI going to affect like you have a budget for an accountant, you have this, you're taking time to sort out. Is AI going to make a difference money-wise here?
Not right now for our positions right now and for the work that's done in governmental accounting versus private accounting. That it's AI would not be something that could help us with that right now. Yeah. And that's actually something our auditors did bring up to look into it, but it's not something that would take over those type of positions yet.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Anyone? Continue, please.
Okay, next up, we have the registrar's office. Very simple here as well. Not a lot of changes. 0.3% reduction overall year over year. I did make one, you'll sort of see a number change. I renumbered, this is going back to that UCOA thing as we'll talk about here. There was a $35,000 line for elections personnel down in the 5,300 or 53,000s. I moved that up to the 51s. It's personnel. So that's the number. It didn't change. The dollar amount didn't change. I just changed it to the spending is going to be where it's supposed to be next year. Otherwise, a couple increases, slight training increase of $1,000, postage decrease of $2,000, meals and events increase of $1,000. Just kind of moving things around based on what they actually spend. Department, 0.6% decrease. Small decrease in salaries, about 1,200 decrease in salaries. Again, just due to some calculation changes, $3,500 increase in 401A there. That's likely from a part-timer moving to full-time, things like that. And then I moved professional services to technical services, code books, and software subscriptions. This is a rare example where I'm actually making more codes for this department, but it more aligns with what their spend actually is. Overall reduction of about $4,600 between those three codes. Land use, 1% increase year over year. Primarily salaries, 20,513 increase in full-time salaries. 7.8% increase in Social Security, 5.1% increase in 401, same things. I moved a couple codes around. Again, you'll see there was service contracts and professional services. I'm trying to get rid of catch-all codes, things that you can just spend anything in those codes. I don't like that. I like it to be kind of regimented. So that's why you're getting rid of some of those catch-all codes. And technical services and software subscriptions is the increase. Overall decrease year over year, about 19,833. But there's just some stuff that moved around. So 65 or 66,000 went to about 46,000 or so. Parking, 5.2% increase to parking. A few different things here we can talk about, certainly. I have a decrease in salaries. We had a retirement, so that is going to it's reducing salary, but it's going to increase our 401A. Anybody that leaves that has been here for a long time probably was on the pension. Now those people are getting the 401A. So we're going to not lose, but we're not going to have to make pension contributions for that person, for that position. We will have to make 401A contributions. So an increase there. I moved service contracts to software subscriptions, just $100 increase year over year. Outside contract service is an increase of $5,000. That's an increase to their ticketing and permitting software expense, though there is a corresponding revenue increase associated with that. We'll talk about that in a few slides here. So it's not that expenses are going up by themselves, it's because revenue goes up, expenses go up.
Is that for the app or what is that?
It's this particular vendor just gets a percentage of the revenue.
So which vendor are we talking about?
I don't know the specific vendor.
Yeah, I don't know the names offhand between.
But
the
it's a
ticketing-
vendor that's involved with the parking meters? Oh, so that vendor gets, so people that park have to pay a commission or pay a service fee and the town pays a fee with that as well?
No, when they're paying at all our credit cards, their
Yeah.
servicer has a fee on it. Our fees are minimal of just making sure that we have it up and running, but it's a service fee that is charged onto like our taxes. If they pay with a credit card, the fee is put onto the resident. So that's the same setup here. That's a typical credit card for municipalities.
So the resident pays and the town has to pay? Is that what I'm
The
trying
town
to understand?
pays it's like a monthly service just to have the service.
A monthly service?
Yeah, just to have the actual service on it.
Okay. And how much is that based on the new parking meters on Elm? How much more what's the delta on that?
I don't have the specifics to that level. It's something I could get at a.
But before it was 15,000? No, before it was 25,000, now it's 35,000. An increase of 20%. Am I right about that? If I look at 2026
25 to 30,
adopted,
it looks
it's
like.
25,000. Yeah, because it's going up by 20%.
Yeah, 25,000 to 30.
So that's associated with the new parking meters on Elm.
And different services
On
that,
no, not me,
apps that residents, they would prefer to have apps and things like that to bring it to more efficient for use as well. So they
Okay.
brought in the ability for them to pay on an app.
Got it. Just trying to understand. Thank you.
Postage increased pretty significantly. That was a choice a couple of years ago. They tried to do digital parking permit renewals, didn't get a great response. So they went back to doing the physical mailers and as well as the digital renewals. They got a good response to that. So they're going to continue with that. Postage gets more expensive. We have to add a little bit more to that line. The voice and data line is pretty significantly increased. That's due to those new meters as well that all have cell signal and things they have to connect back to. So that increases our overall costs for the connecting of those meters.
What is the total cost for the meters annually?
I can go through it and check. It's probably in several lines here. I can find out for you.
For the giant bag that ties your foot.
Somebody got to mute. Brian, how many full-time,
Is to mute. Oh, sorry.
how many full-time equivalent employees do we have in parking?
I believe just 3, yeah.
3.
So I'm curious, why did the bank, unless I missed this, the banking and transaction fees went up by 9%? Is there a reason on that?
That was, we talked about that on the finance page. We're kind of reallocating what was being charged to finance now to the departments where that revenue is happening. This is a big part of that. So that's
Okay.
that 5,000.
Okay,
increase there.
got it.
And that was my next line. So that's everything on parking. All right, and now we can talk benefits, insurance, and things like that. So group insurance for the town, we're keeping flat for this year. That's based on our expectations for the coming year. The Board of Ed 401 employer contribution, that's an increase of 12.9%. That's based on actuals as of about a month or so ago, what's actually happening and what is expected to happen for their costs going forward. Town pension contribution reduced by about 167,000, again, based on actuarial numbers. Workers' comp and blanket insurance, we're estimating a 3% increase to those numbers. That's what we're budgeting for that.
When do you find out whether that 3% is accurate or not?
It closer to the beginning, sorry.
It's Cheryl. We will find out in April.
Thank you.
The next few departments, if you will, debt service, other agencies and town commissions, and contingencies and transfers. All the rest of these sort of internal stuff. Debt service, we have 144,980 increase. Our Board of Ed technology lease has been in debt service for a long time. It's been in its own line, I should say. That's going to be bonded going forward. So that's going to be reduced over the next few years to a zero in that line, and increase the bonding number accordingly. Other agencies are all flat year over year, except for the transportation to the private schools, which had a $30,000 increase based on the number of students and the costs associated with transporting them to those private schools. Town commissions, we just have two lines. $445 for the Utilities Commission, which is to pay for a web domain and app hosting, and $2,700 for the Conservation Commission. They're planning on doing 2 informational mailings, likely attached to another mailing that we send out, maybe from DPW or something.
So, excuse me, when I was just looking at the budget for conservation, there was nothing listed for conservation. So is that going to be added in? Well, when I look at the Board of Finance approved budget, it says Conservation Commission, and it is blank for the 2027 proposed.
I hope that's not the one that I have posted online, but I do have, this updated one has 2,700 in that line.
Okay. And what's that for again?
It's a couple of mailings they want to send out.
Brian, the transportation of private schools, those are outplacements? What are this, what is that?
It's state statute, it's, sorry, do you want to?
Yeah, we're required by state statute. New Canaan residents who attend private schools here, within New Canaan, we are required to provide them transportation at the cost that we pay. So we have to reimburse. I get a roster from Country School every year, the names of the students who attend, and then it's just a multiplier based on how many students they have.
Okay, I never knew that. Okay.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I'm paying for a
Yeah.
bus. I'm paying for bus transportation
Yeah.
services too, so I'm gonna have to ask them.
So this is not complex learners or special ed. This is just kids who live in New Canaan and go to Country School or St. Luke's. We have to pay for their transportation to school? Wow,
Who knew it?
that's news,
But you'd have to pay for them if they were going to school one way or the other.
but they're not. We pay for them if they go to public school. That makes all the sense in the world to me. To pay for a child to be transported to a private school,
No, but you wouldn't pay for them to go to King School. Like it just means every child in New Canaan gets,
I understand that for public schools. I'm surprised. I mean, it's the state statute. It is what it is. I'm just telling you, I'm surprised. The first time I've heard it. And I
St. Luke's
suspect
does
a
not
bunch of other
participate,
taxpayers may
just the
not know
country
that yet. Yeah, sorry.
So what do you mean? St. Luke's doesn't ask for it?
No, they don't. A majority of it's older, right? So some of the kids drive themselves there, and for whatever reason, they've opted not to take advantage of it.
I think they only have one bus in town, except from the library and takes back, otherwise it's a nightmarish transportation.
Homeschool kids get a rebate? No.
Okay, please continue. We can tolerate this unless we have real questions. I don't mean to be rude. I'm just saying part of what I was, our kind of new structure here is if we had specific questions about any portions of the budget, rather than just kind of getting the same. There's nothing, no fault of your own. So how much more do you have on this here?
We've got some revenue. We've got a couple capital items.
All right, let's hit that quick because
let's hit the
we're
revenue.
already over 30 minutes. Nothing that you've
Like
done, but
that.
just kind of rip through it. And if we have questions, ask me. If not, let's just say, hey, let's move it along.
All right. Revenue. Revenue for finance. We moved some of the tax assessor revenue. It was split between departments for whatever reason the past few years. It's all going to the assessor's office going forward. So that's what that negative number is there. In the assessor and collector, same thing. Just the increase associated with that. Tax collections current right now, 3.4% increase year over year. That's based on Board of Finance recommended budget. assuming a $5 million fund balance drawdown, which gets decided in June. And then if you guys make any changes, then of course we'll adjust that number. $20,000 increase overall to town clerk revenues. 17,000 increase primarily to wetland and violation fees.
Good.
55,000 overall increase to parking. We talked about that earlier. The increase in revenue creates an increased expense for those meters. So that's some of the revenue right there. And then we have operating transfers in. I did want to talk about that. That's a number that's down year over year, but here are the three items that go into that. Our operating transfers in is 100,000 from the recreation self-sustaining fund. They in prior years were getting $100,000 to offset their salaries as a negative expense. We're accounting for that as a revenue item now. So it's going to live here. 500,000 from the Board of Education Internal Service Fund. It's a fund balance transfer from them. We've heard them talk about it already. It's a one-time transfer. And $790,000 for bond premium, which is down a little bit year over year, but that's the number that we have. And capital, I just have 4 items for capital. The Affordable Housing Committee is looking for $225,000 to fund a study to determine the selection of their next development. We have 2 IT items that are you've seen them every single year. Hardware and software, they're looking for $30,000, and that's their internal software, and then WAN, so to fund the network, to build the network. So they're looking for $20,000 to maintain that. And then we have a parking item, 8 parking machines on Main Street for $90,774.
Christina.
The issue regarding parking, the ordinance doesn't allow for parking on Elm in Main Street. Could you explain that?
Sure.
Deanna, can you come up on that? I appreciate it. Thank you. Just make sure, Ryan, she can get that.
You can, that's all right. Thanks. So get to the ordinance, because the ordinance is from 1967. And it also didn't allow for parking on parking meters in the Park Street lot either. So this is something that the town council needs to really address. These ordinances are significantly out of date, and they don't reflect what was even without this new parking initiative. What was being done was not reflected in the ordinance. So I don't know why that didn't come up previously. So that's why.
Well,
it's a 1967 ordinance that didn't reflect.
But it's on the book, so
it
it's
wasn't
still
being followed even before this.
But that was in a parking lot. So this is the difference between on-street parking.
I don't know why you're picking and choosing which ordinances you're going to follow and which ones you're not.
No, it's not about not following it. It's just that there is a big difference. But the point is, it sounds as though, if I'm not mistaken, the parking on Elm Street is not in accordance with the ordinances that have been part of the town code. Is that correct?
Well, if you read the ordinance, so the parking meter zones, you're talking about parking meter zones. Is that what you're talking about? So the parking meter zones didn't include Park Street, but so yes, they haven't been followed since.
No, I understand that,
When did we
but
put in the
you've
parking
put in the
Park
parking meters under your administration.
Yeah.
The Park
they were-
Street
the
one
Park
was
Street
a
lot
different
was-
for selectmen.
Yeah.
One at a time, so everyone can follow. Okay, so Deanna, please go, and then Kim.
So these ordinances in many ways, and I think the Charter Revision Commission is going to be bringing that to your attention. There needs to be a full overhaul because, I mean, as you'll see, if you look at the date, this was 1967, and it does not reflect in many places the way this town operates. And so there needs to be a full review of the ordinances to comply with what's happening. And there was review by this body, by the Board of Finance and by the Board of Selectmen of the parking meters on Elm Street. It went through last year's budget cycle. And then you approved bonding for those meters in that same month. So not only did it come through the budget cycle, you also unanimously approved the bonding for those meters. So I don't know what,
So let me just say this, the process by which the town council has amended ordinances or revised them is that the department, like the parking commission, would
Right.
present before the town council their concept for an idea months before the budget. And then we would look at the ordinance and update it accordingly. And we would have public hearings and the public would have input. No input from the public came into Elm Street. And
well, it did actually, Christina. I mean, if you read the New Canaanite article about all the public outreach that went into the implementation of this process, if you go back to that article, it's very specific about all the steps my office took to educate the public about this change. And it started during my election campaign 2 years ago. And then it was brought to all the Sentinel and New Canaanite coffees. It was brought to the Men's Club. It was brought to the Rotary. It was brought to the Exchange Club.
But it was never brought to us.
Deanna,
So that
You-
I
you
think,
attend all of those.
no, I don't attend all of those, and it was never brought to the town council. So
Well, it was through the budget.
I'm
was through
very
the budget.
concerned. I'm very concerned that the parking there's been a lot of negative feedback about the
And a lot of
parking.
positive too.
And
So I've gotten both.
right.
More,
Okay.
I've gotten positive, you probably gotten some negative, but there's both. And I understand, and it's
Right.
it's a new program. It's not complete. We don't have the parking lot repaved and the ramp fully implemented. And as I've said throughout, and if you've paid attention, and I think you probably have, because you like to tee off on this issue, it is,
What does that mean? I like to tee off on the issue. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Everyone here should tee off on the issue. The bottom line is the public.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me be very clear about this. One person speaks at a time. If you cannot, we will adjourn the meeting. All right. And that goes for all of us on any topic, whether it be Dr. Lutzy or this particular issue. I'm not going to have some crazy three-ring circus here. One person speaks at a time. We have people following. No one can follow. I get it. Passions are running high on this issue. One at a time, please. Thank you. Deanna, then Kim, and Christina.
so we followed all the notification rules. It was very public. It was in my newsletter. Go back to the New Canaanite article. I outlined every single place I brought it to the public's attention. And so it was not hidden. You may not have focused on it last year in the budget. I'm sorry that you didn't focus on it last year on the budget, but it also came through the bond resolution. It was the very first item in the bond resolution, 91,100. It was voted on unanimously. So I don't know if you didn't read the bond resolution, but it was in all of those places. So if you chose not to focus on it, I'm sorry, but it wasn't that it was not very public.
All right, Kim, go ahead. and then
Okay, so
Christina
it
then.
may have been public in the media, initiated by the executive branch of government, but it never came through the town council. It is not in keeping with the ordinance on the book. So I see that as a major issue. We never received a presentation on it. I didn't get any notification on town council that the parking commission wanted to do this and that there was a public hearing of any kind. So it may have been socialized, as you say, in meetings and sent to the media, but it was never gone through the government channels that are supposed to be gone through as a check and balance system so that the public can get involved in making major decisions. So I see it as a major issue and a major problem. So I am completely not in support of the new proposal. And I feel like that the meters that are on Elm Street now are there without authorization. And I think it's a serious problem that needs to be corrected. Thank you. That's all I have to say on that.
So the process by which, as Kim mentioned, and I started to say before, is that the project is before town council long before a project is executed and put into a budget. If you haven't, and I'll go back to the bonding papers, if you just put parking, we have to assume
It's
that
in
what
meters,
is
91,100 on
Let her finish.
meters.
what is
Christina.
being presented is such that it has met the qualifications of the town, which is in respect to the ordinance in this case. It hasn't, it wasn't. And just because there was an error in the past does not mean that it's okay to move forward with it, not just on Elm, but now on Main Street. Now on Main Street, there's another issue that in order to put meters on Main Street, you have to get a permit from the state.
We don't. We already checked into that, Christina.
Well, you checked into that, but you didn't check into the ordinance.
We checked into the state. We didn't know, the reason we didn't even, because we've been asked by people on Locust Avenue, or not Locust, Forest. There's some issues on parking on Forest, and they were asking for some meters because they're having some Uber Eats problems and things like that. And they want, so that was a request of the parking department to look into metering that area because they're having problems there. And so we said, well, let's, do we need to look at the overhaul? And in that process of looking at Forest, it was determined that we actually didn't need approval from the state for meters on Main Street, which we thought we did initially because it's a state road, because everything with the road has to go through the state. But for some reason, the meters do not. So there's no intent at this point. It's in there. We're not anywhere ready for that. There has to be a lot of study, but in order to even look at it, we'd need a budget for it. And that's why it was put in there. There's not like a proposal to push this forward in the next, but we're 2 years out now. This budget cycle is 2 years out. So, if you're being planful, then
I'll close with this. What has been denied in this process is the public input of having the public hearing and having the public opine on it. This is a town for the people. So
parking doesn't usually go before this body. And I would, you have an ordinance
amendment does.
Yeah, it's amendment.
Hillary, then Jennifer.
Jen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I just kind of want to I want to get back to the realm of the practical, because it's just it's a budget that we're looking at. So the first thing I would just say is that we did vote and approved the financing for Elm Street. So as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't need to be re-adjudicated here. So there's a line item here in capital for Main Street. So I mean, I do feel that this body is somewhat inconsistent about which things we decide the public has to come in and have a whole big debate, and other lines in capital often just go and are approved. So I think there's an inconsistency. And so maybe just in deference to my colleagues, I appreciate that they feel that there's been negative feedback that they've heard from, and so they want to express themselves. What I'm more interested in is, Elm Street has gone. I personally experienced positive and negative feedback from it, but it seems to be going. So can you explain what are we solving for on Main? If it was traffic flow on Elm, what is your intent for Main Street?
It's really, we're going to be looking at the overall flow. So that one we're kind of really early on, but it would be to get people off, from keep moving because there's retailers on Main Street too, where the whole thing is about turnover on all of those streets, because you want turnover. I mean, Tucker just met with one of the retailers on Elm Street who said to her today, well, now our customers can finally park right in front because, you don't have, quite frankly, a lot of the business owners, staff, while we gave them free parking in the outer lots, we're not using that. And while they say they're moving, they're not. They're staying there all day. And
can I ask a follow-up? Because I also do think I can be sympathetic somewhat to what you're saying, but I also I've made my peace and gotten into the flow of Elm Street, as I know others have. But there are other times where I don't want to pay and do that. And I need to be
that's what Park Street's for.
Well, but beyond Park Street, I have enjoyed if I can find on Main.
Yep.
What about, as not an offset, but just keeping some space? Are you going to keep that's parallel to the library? Will that stay?
Oh yeah, it ends at, okay. And we haven't made a decision yet. I mean, this is a little early.
So this
was brought to me by the parking department and commission, or not by the commission, but
so it's a placeholder.
It's a placeholder.
Okay.
We have to get, can I tell you, we're not ready to implement any more until every piece of this parking has been completed. And then we analyze the full impacts of it. And we have to finish that ramp, and we have to finish the parking lots. And then we're going to give it time to rest.
Thank you.
And everyone is
Good
going to,
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna try to wrap it up
Yeah.
and just say that this is an issue clearly that the bylaws and ordinances committee needs to look at. So, you know, the Elm Street meters are in. I don't know what the suggestion would be for that we rip them out and start over. Doesn't seem very practical to me, but going forward, before anything moves on Main Street, we should update the ordinances. So we will address that in the bylaws and ordinances
Let me
committee.
give Maria
Maria's first.
Maria.
Um,
Oh, I'm sorry.
but
Maria.
no. So that is something that we need to do. There are, to your point, a lot of things. I think I sent Nick a list of outdated ordinances that I'm like, can we get rid of these? Can we amend these? And so he and other things have come up, but this I was not aware of. It needs to be corrected. So we need to figure that out.
when I was on the Board of Education, we literally took the Board of Education bylaws and went through them section by section, regardless of whether you thought you needed to do something or not. And we sent it off to the attorney, like after we worked with the superintendent, we'd send them off to the attorney and bring them back. I mean, you almost have to do that with these ordinances. They're so old, some of them.
No, and I did that. I don't know how
Yeah.
I mean, and I can fall on the sword for that, I guess. But it didn't become apparent to me. It's now apparent. We need to fix it
Well,
or not. I mean,
it's
but
not falling on your sword. You did exactly what we asked. But the issue is we have so many other issues before
Yeah.
it's,
but
there's
we'll
a
look at
bandwidth.
we can debate, and
Got
we
it.
didn't
All right,
know
Maria.
about this.
Maria, then Eric, I'll close it down.
I just wanted to say before, it's probably a good time to evaluate the parking. I've heard from people who don't want to shop because it's for whatever reason not convenient. I think it would be good to quantify the success, find out how the merchants did in the past year since the meters went in and compare it to previous years. I think I would do that before adding more metered parking.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have to do a holistic review, but we're not there yet, Maria. We still don't have the lot repaved. We don't have the ramp in the alley finished. As I keep saying, once all the pieces are complete, and that should be done this spring, we're on target for a late April, early May repaving. And that'll take about 2 weeks. And during that period, we will give away free parking on Elm Street when we have to take over those lots. When that's done, we will give it a period of time to review. And it's not going to be a week. It's got to be a significant period of time where the merchants and the restaurants, go through different seasons. And, because the shopping cycles are different. This is definitely a Christmas and end of school shopping town. The rest of the towns, if you talk to any retailers, there's very long dead periods and they have to make it in those 2 periods.
Eric, that's it.
I would just like to say that I have the ordinance related to parking is ordinance number 41. And the chapter in the town charter that relates to the parking commission is Article 13. And chapter 41 establishes certain parking meter zones, 41.8. And it seems that these pertain only to the off-street parking areas specifically named. There is nothing in chapter 41 about Elm Street and/or Main Street or any other specific street for that matter with respect to the establishment of parking meters on a public street. It should be noted, and this is highlighted by others, chapter 41 was adopted on June 17, 1964. So it's 62 years old, clearly needs updating. But I have read the town charter with respect to parking, and I have read all of Ordinance 41, and I cannot find anything in the town charter or the bylaws that specifically outlaws the establishment of parking meters on a public street. And I want that known by the public.
I disagree, but we don't need to debate this.
Okay, awesome, great. We're moving it along. What, you got something, Kim? Did you want
Yeah,
to say?
I just wanted to say that I did read the same thing that Eric read, and there are 2 streets named. And there's nothing that says, to me, the fact that it's so old doesn't matter. It should have been brought before town council, before this whole thing was rolled out, before it was even requested. And I know you're trying to put it on us that we approved it and we approved the bonding, but I think that it's against basically the laws of the town, whether people like it or not. So I feel like it should be looked at and the public should know that this was done in violation of the ordinance. So maybe that's something to include in the newsletter.
All right.
There's no violation.
Fiona, if you'd like to respond, you can. You don't have to. It was repeated
will be
10
fruitless,
times.
so
Let's move it along.
need to-
Is there anything else for town? Are there any questions on the budget for the town side? Anything else? This is it.
No, I just wanted to say thank you to Ryan.
All right.
Yeah.
Further questions? Everyone confirmed they have no further questions. Can we get the library up, please? Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you, Ann.
Take our lucky seats.
So all I've, like with every other department, I've had the very excellent opportunity to chat with Ellen, and I've said, look, give us a abbreviated version of the presentations you've been given, because we've all should have heard it several times. So I think with that said, Ellen will be providing a truncated version, and anyone can ask some questions along the way. Ellen's prepared to field anything as we go along to keep this moving along. All right, I'm going to step out for a minute. I'll be right back, but please start.
Okay. Why can't I share?
Send two major co-hosts. Yeah, share.
Make sure we're on.
I think we're okay.
Yeah, we're good. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody for having us tonight. Cheryl and I are always happy to come and talk and answer your questions. And I really want to start by saying thank you, because we came to you with a pretty significant ask last year for a reset budget, and you were very generous and very understanding. And I have to say, it's made the world of difference to our team. I don't want to elaborate too much, but I can just say that having Pablo, especially on our staff, has changed lives in every way. And we have really managed to affect a very smooth operation this year and do more for the public and more programming with far lower levels of stress. So we're very grateful for that. I'm going to present the budget tonight in two parts. Mike did tell me that you all had done all of your homework and you've probably watched the Board of Finance. And so I won't extol the virtues of this beautiful mosaic that took 40 people a couple of weeks to build, that is in our mezzanine. And I do hope you've all seen. I probably won't spend too much time telling you that we hit the 1 million man mark last year, but we are up to about 1.2 million and on track to do even more this year. You probably all have heard about our Kazakhstan finalist award, where we were 3 out of all international library submissions. We lost to the Canadians, which we were sad about, but we were in such incredible company that we just felt it was a tremendous honor for us, because it was not only about the building design, but it was also about the service and the programming that we provide.
And we beat them later.
And we beat them in hockey later, yeah. This is, I think, in case people don't actually believe this happened in Kazakhstan, because we did get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to present in Kazakhstan remotely. This is what happened in Kazakhstan on the day, just to show you somebody was actually there. We do great things. You all know it. You've all been to Ellen Hildebrand. We had a few celebrities turn up. We had a wonderful experience with Peggy Noonan this year. I know many of you were there. Grateful for that. We love to continue our traditions. Conversations with business leaders was something that the great Hazel Hobbs started about 20 or some odd years ago. And we are very, very proud to continue her legacy in this tradition by honoring a significant corporate leader from New Canaan in our community. And I couldn't have been more thrilled to have Emily Rubenfeld bring her entire coterie of models from Carolina Herrera. She is the president. It is quite a remarkable role, and she was a wonderful speaker, really inspirational. This is just a small snapshot of all of the many things we're doing. We've been investing a lot of our time and energy on really honing our programming for children as well. Most of you know Fancy Nancy. We managed to bring Jane O'Connor in for families. Our children's team continues to operate on all cylinders. If anybody's ever in the building on a Tuesday or Wednesday in the morning, you've seen the Bugaboo Brigade, as we call them, and we are jam-packed with wonderful children's programming. Groove on the Green, 900 registrants. Last year was country music. This year on June 6th, we're going to be having disco if anybody wants to take out their shoes and join us on that night. This is a fantastic community event, free for the public. And then I thought, just as a little highlight, we can show you, our literary luncheon is one of the most important things we do all year. It funds 20% of our fundraising budget. We have a team of volunteers and part of our staff who spend an entire year planning for this important event. We also do smaller things. We have mini fundraisers, including our family mini golf, where some of my favorite foursomes are the octogenarians who turned up in force this year. Last year, your increases to our budget enabled us to support our digital collection, which was significant. We continue to see great improvements on our collections statistics, so we're pleased about that. And Cheryl can certainly add to that detail. And again, I'm going to mention meeting rooms because it's a significant part of the public service that we provide. We're turning these rooms significantly. It's part of why Pablo is such an important addition to our team. But I want you to keep this in mind as we move forward in part 2 to talk about what's going to happen in Legacy. Again, just another idea to give you a sense of how the door traffic has shifted. We're looking at about a 5% projected increase for this year. So starting to plateau, but we're still attracting some significant traffic. So again, we hired a great custodian, we retained key staff, we improved our digital materials, and we spent some time stabilizing building and ground and facilities level expenses. And we just want to say thank you. It's made a big difference to us. We promised we'd come back with a very boring budget. Here it is. We've come back with a normalized increase, 3.5%, $105,500 increase to our budget, the majority of which is really COLA increases in salary for our staff. 94% of the town grant covers 100% of the salaries for our team. We like to think of the fundraising as the part that really fuels the creativity and growth and is the engine of creative innovation on the team. This is a slide that we've revamped finally with the right information. Deanna? We went through 2 budget meetings without it, but now we have the right numbers. So the town of New Canaan provides us with about $3.45 million. This is 25 numbers. That is including the numbers that are provided to us for healthcare. And I think what we always report these numbers to the state. We understood what our direct costs were. That was what we had been reporting. In the past several months, we had some conversations with Cheryl and Anne and Deanna. We understand that now there's an administrative fee that is applied to the library, and so we've added that additional sum. It's about $150,000, a little more to the numbers. So now the numbers look slightly higher than what we might have shown before. We don't know if the other towns. This is apples to apples. We don't know if they too have an administrative cost that's applied to the town. It's entirely feasible. They're just showing direct costs here, but we wanted to be fully disclosing what we know is coming from the town. Again, we continue to do very well with our fundraising. We're the highest fundraising library in the state. Proud of that. We also have the smallest endowment of any of our peers. It is a topic you'll be hearing me speak more about in future. And so I'd like to leave it here. If you've got any specific questions about the numbers, we're happy to answer anything.
Questions? Christina?
What did you mean by administrative fees, $150,000?
So the breakout from that we've understood now from Cheryl Jones is there's
There is an administrative fee, a network fee, and then the largest portion of that is the stop loss. And it's, our understanding is it's pooled throughout the whole town, and then all of the
Departments.
across all the departments, and then 9.3% of all of the town's allocation of that is allocated to the library, because that's the number that of employees that we have on the town.
So we weren't aware of that before, which is why we never, our numbers may have differed. We had the actual direct costs. So now we've included that.
Penny?
Having gone through a number of library budgets over the years, I will have to say that this is the first one where I actually understood all of your numbers.
Thank you, Penny.
Because they were kind of crazily presented, shall I say, and it wasn't really clear what they went, to fund. And I think because you've been in operation for what now, 3 full years?
3 years.
You really know who you are, what you are, how you need to get where you need to get from all your operational things. So that's refreshing to have it presented that way. I've had someone ask me whether or not your unduplicated count or your numbers coming in the door, is that an unduplicated account, or is that people coming in and out, in and out, in and out?
In and out. It's, we don't have individual identification ankle bracelets on people who come in and out.
Okay.
It doesn't count, though, it doesn't double count. We have a separate count for people in the doors and people out the doors. So I'm only reporting the ins, but if a child runs back and forth through the doors, it's gonna count.
Okay, because I've seen teens go in and out.
Yeah,
in and out,
yes,
and,
yes.
I know it's difficult unless you have, like they do at Lapham, you count your heads at each class, and so.
Sure, which we do that, of course, but we don't match that against the door count.
Yeah.
Right, and our door count's 1,500 to 1,800 a day, so it's a little different than Lapham. I'm sure Lapham's got.
That was asked of me, so I said I will, pass it on. I don't have any other operational questions, and I will when you get to the legacy, of course.
Anything else on operational? Kim?
Hi. Besides the revenues that are shown here, are there grants that you're getting from like the New Canaan Community Foundation and other private funding mechanisms that you could share with us, please?
Yes, we get some small grants. We do, and that would show up in our numbers under restricted gifts.
Oh, okay. So the 363. No.
Very often those are, when we receive money for a specific purpose, it goes into a temporarily restricted gift account. And so we can only spend the money for that specific purpose. So our grants, apart from capital campaign gifts, we do receive some grants in the 5 to maximum 25 kind of range, and not every year. They're not significant. In any case, they'd be housed under gifts restricted temporarily.
They get recorded in the audited numbers, but we don't budget for them because we apply for them as they come up.
We can't predict.
So that's why it's not in the budget.
That's right, because we don't know that we'll be successful.
So there's nothing that's in the ballpark of like 100,000 or whatever from the community foundation or from other organizations?
Not for the operating budget, no.
Thank you.
And then anything that we would get would be over and above what we've budgeted for. So it would be an extra service or an extra program that we are able to do because we get it.
And it did show up in the audit.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on operating? Anybody? At all? This is it. Okay, move it along.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Where are you in your loan or whatever it was called?
The facility? I'm going to get to that. Can I get to it?
Yeah.
I'm going to answer it, I promise.
Sorry that.
It's a great story. I love telling the story. So for the benefit of the people who perhaps are new to the town council, I thought it might just make sense to spend a couple of minutes just going over a bit of history. Just to say that we are an association library. We're a separate 501c3. When we conducted our $40 million capital campaign, we raised $30 million in private philanthropy. The town gave us a very generous grant of $10 million. And in addition to their $10 million outright grant, they provided a loan facility for us that was negotiated just to cover the sort of shortfalls that we were anticipating in the sort of pledge payment cycle, which was a 3 to 5 year kind of a period. That was really to cover the construction costs, which maybe didn't match up perfectly with all of our pledges. The good news is that we've only ever had to borrow $4 million. Our collections have been perfect, frankly. And we have been paying that down, and so we're now at a level of $1.7 million outstanding on the facility. And we are certainly in position to make a significant additional payment in the near future on that number. So I think the other thing that's worth talking about, a little bit of the history of the planning and zoning process. The Planning and Zoning Commission required us to retain a portion, a set of, let's say, most of the legacy building, as we call it. And we made the decision to preserve the entirety of the original 1913 legacy building. It cost us $2.4 million to preserve, stabilize, and move that building back, which we did completely with library funds. So there were no taxpayer dollars involved in that move. Some of you may recall the exciting day that we did do the move. We built our own railroad and pushed it back. Yeah, it was a good day. And many people ask us, what is the current state of the legacy building? So I know many of you do know this. It's stabilized, it's dry, but it's empty and it's unfinished. We have already formed an advisory committee that has been active. We've had a number of community conversations underway with our nonprofit partners and some others. We are in preparation for a planning and zoning process. This past summer, we conducted some work with a local architect and builder to just get a preliminary set of plans in place and to do a preliminary cost assessment for us. And so what's really important for us is to get a comprehensive understanding of the construction and operating funding sources that are available to us. And so that's why we're coming to you asking for $1 million grant. The concept design, although we don't have it today to present, it's really going to come out in our planning and zoning process, is, our goal here is to really restore the building to its original luster. There is no point in us having a building that doesn't serve an important function and that doesn't reflect its original state. And so our goal is to restore the extant original windows and refresh all of the exteriors. The concept is to create one unified and flexible space. We're going to try to open the western wall that's adjacent to the terrace with some glass doors to create kind of a liaison, a conversation between the old and the new buildings. Of course, we need to provide ADA compliant bathrooms, perhaps a kitchenette and some storage to make it really a useful space. We're hoping to create a small stage or a platform on one end so that we can host concerts and lectures and other presentations. And then, of course, we're going to need to install technology for public use. I mentioned to you before that one of the most important ways that the public wants to use the library now is for meeting spaces. And it's everyone from the garden club to students studying for a chemistry test or people who are running their companies, frankly, from the library. We have a lot of pressure on us from a lot of nonprofit groups to house meetings. We've got the Community Foundation in there all the time, and we're delighted to have them. We see that as an important part of our mission. But one of the things we can't offer them is the opportunity to really stay late. We can't keep the whole building open if you need to have a board meeting that goes to 9 o'clock. Our hours we close at 8 o'clock most days of the week. So one of the things we see as an opportunity here is to create differentiated hours. It's much easier to keep a smaller building open a bit later than it is to keep the entire building open. So we think that's going to be a big benefit. We've had very good feedback on that front. And we want to be able to offer our staff a place to perhaps meet and work. We're in pretty crammed quarters, believe it or not, where we are. And so it's really a benefit to us to be able to use that space. And then we can also house and host additional programming there as well. It'll be a flexible layout. We think if we go forward with the plans that we've got, we'll be able to seat up to 75 people. And we think it's about $1.5 million to $2 million all in cost, including soft costs and furnishings and all the legal costs it's going to take to get through this. We are keeping a weather eye on how this would impact our operating budget. It is something we talk about and think about. So the existing conditions, we are using our existing staff. We will not be increasing our staffing. And we do from some existing restricted gift budget for programming, particularly around music. New conditions, of course, there'll be some increased utilities and electrical costs, cleaning expenses. We did provide a small number in the 2027 budget in a fit of optimism. Cheryl and I thought perhaps we'd get this open by the time we were ready for that budget.
Of course, there'll be some maintenance of some of the capital expenditures, which of course you don't fund. We fund our own capital budget, but there will be HVAC and other things. Of course, there'll be additional insurance expense. You will see that in the budget for 27. But we also see an attractive new rental income opportunity here. So we're very much looking at this as trying to, come up with a sort of a net zero kind of an impact on our budget. We love being the center of cultural life in our community, and we'd love to thank you for your help in keeping us there and maintaining that role for us. So if you have any questions.
Any questions on capital? Want to go?
I was just curious, are there any conceptual drawings yet of?
We have some early drawings, but we really need to get our financial picture in place, I think, before, because that really is a process that we're going to go through in planning and zoning. So we didn't want to, have a preview here tonight when I think we're still a few steps away. We're trying to be conservative in how we're spending our money. So we have some general pictures and general ideas, but.
And the idea is it's flexible for performing arts and meetings and.
That's right.
All of that.
So
Okay.
it's a very small space, right? It's a 20 by 60 and it's 1,200 square feet. And so it's pretty limited. What we're trying to do is maximize its use. And that's really going to result in a singular open space with a flexible plan for layout and format.
Eric.
The $1 million that you're asking us to consider, do I understand correctly that that is in the Board of Finance approved capital budget?
It is. They passed it as an earmark for us. Yes.
And explain to me what your plan is to pay down the existing $1.7 million that's
Sure.
still outstanding, because this obviously would be on top of that. But if that lowers, this is less on top.
Sure.
Thanks.
So that's going to be a decision that our board takes. So in consultation with some of the people behind me tonight, there will be a discussion about timing. We've made several very chunky payments in the last year, and I anticipate, given what our collections have been, that that'll be something else that we'll do fairly soon. But maybe our board president would like to speak to that.
Sure. To your question, how do we expect?
Yeah, you gotta get to the green light.
Hello.
Rob Lowe.
I'm sorry, yeah, Rob Lowe. I'm the chairman of the library. We owe 1.7, and I would want to give the group total comfort. We have, between the cash received and our pledges, we have about 1.8. We have more than 1.7. That's not going to come in until 2028. So just the pledges, as Alan mentioned, were a 3 to 5 year period. But so how are we going to pay it? Of all the things in our finance, I feel the strongest that 1.7 is covered. Now, as Ellen said, we can make a payment in the near term to continue as we've been doing. We've been doing it in batch. We have a finance committee, and we want to make sure we're thoughtful on that. But in terms of the 1.7, the pledges and the debt are separate in their own account. They aren't a part of the library. And when you put the cash and the pledges, I know I just said this, but I want to be perfectly clear. We have more than the 1.7 covered. So you should feel very, very good that 1.7 is taken care of. This request is specifically for the legacy and would be different.
Thank you, Rob. Mike, did you have something first? No. You sure? Penny?
I'm going to sound a little negative now. I don't mean it totally negative, but I have some questions. When your proposal came before the Board of Finance, I frankly was astounded at their immediate $1 million support without any questioning of how you're going to operate the building, how you're going to fund it. I mean, it was just no questions. And particularly since the whole budget season started with a very strong pronouncement from the head of the Board of Finance that we're going to not increase any capital projects. And then all of a sudden, when this was proposed and it was like no question, as I said, I puzzled.
Well, I can't speak to how that was decided. I will honor the wisdom of the decision, of course. But I mean, I think one thing that has become, is apparent is that the public had a big role in making a decision about whether or not we kept this building. And I think there is an overarching sense that it does make sense for there to be some public support here. And if you think about it, you know, one of the other advantages we have of asking the town for this funding is it's really at the same proportion as you funded the original building, right? Because if we think about our $2.5 million investment and we look at another two, it's still, you're still at the kind of 25% level of total funding. The other piece I think I want to mention here is we are, I've been in contact with the Connecticut State Library Board, and we are eligible and I think in a very nice position to apply for a grant, which would cover an additional $1 million. And that would take us out of the realm of having to raise money privately, which I can tell you is not a viable solution, I don't think, in the near term for us for a variety of reasons, which we could talk about. But having an earmark from the town is confirmed to be something that would absolutely improve our opportunity with the state. And quite honestly, given that I don't think any of us know what the state funding, pools look like from one year to the next, and given what I know to be their existing fund for these types of projects, we're in a really nice position this year to apply. And I think that's coming to those conclusions and having that information. We didn't really know that until the end of the year. So that speaks to the
And
timing.
I understand it's in the grant that you are been investigating, that there is a component to this grant, that there is a support from the town.
That's
So I
right.
understand it's part of that. What other grants are you investigating, and coupling with that, you complement, your fundraising capabilities.
Yes.
Is there not that ability within the community without putting this on the taxpayer?
Well, I think that the taxpayers played a role in the decision to move this building. So I think that's a, sort of a wash in that regard. But we've just completed the largest capital campaign in the history of the town, Penny. I don't really feel like we're in a position today to do something in the near term. Plus, you also know Waveney, many of the other towns, important nonprofit institutions, they themselves are in the midst of their own capital campaigns. And as it is really the last thing I want to do to get in the middle of any of that at this point. So there is such a thing as donor fatigue. I'm sure I don't have to tell you all very at this as well. It's just a delay. It will delay this project. And I think we've been sitting with a building that's empty for 3 years. We've had an opportunity to see where we really can use the space, how we can use the space effectively. We want to capitalize on what the state has to offer us in a grant. And we think this is the right moment in time to try to proceed. And so if we're lucky enough to proceed with a grant from town, we think we're going to try darn hard to get that grant. And if we don't, they don't require us to have money from town, but it is an important symbol of your support. All it will do is mean that, okay, at some point we'll have to go out and figure out where the rest of the money will come from.
Got it.
Oh, did you want, does Maria want to speak first?
Maria's had her hand up.
Oh,
Okay.
it's a little pause been up. Maria.
So you said that building is 1,200 square feet?
Yep.
That's correct. Do you, at 1,200 square feet, 1.5 million is like $1,200 per square foot, and the technology is separate. That's another. Are you looking to get competitive bids on this? That seems kind of high.
Yeah. So we asked Hobbs to do the estimates for us, and we asked them to do it based on a couple of different scenarios. They did a pretty detailed analysis. I was very impressed with the software that they used. It was, several tens of pages. And I think, you're looking at a building that has nothing, has no HVAC. We've done our best to position it in a way where we did a little bit of plumbing for the water lines and electric, et cetera. But there's a significant amount of customization that's going to happen if we're hoping to have custom windows to replace what had been there in the past. Certainly we could put in plastic windows, but our goal is to put in customized wooden windows, particularly around the Palladians, et cetera. So there are certain things that are going to cost more money.
And opening up the end.
And to your point about competitive bids, we will be required by the grant process to do so.
Jan's been waiting out.
Yeah, I just want to point out that the Legacy Building wasn't part of the original.
That's
plans.
correct.
So, and it was a requirement by the P and Z that, I mean, it's essentially an unfunded mandate. So I think my viewpoint is that it behooves the taxpayers to restore it to the glory that it was, or make it as, some kind of purpose that honors the tradition of what it represents. So that's just my 2 cents.
Eric.
Just a quick response to Maria. And I think it was before this, it's been presented to this body that the town players capital project came in at right around $1,200 a square foot. So that's not out of line here, I don't think.
We came in on budget, if not slightly under budget, and on time for our project. I can assure you that we have a pretty experienced team of folks that will, hope to recommit for our building committee. And I am not interested in spending more money than we have to. We do have some requirements because we're not building a private home, Penny. We're having to deal with ADA requirements and some other issues. And if we're hoping to have something where we are utilizing money for concerts, we want to make sure we have the right acoustics. We want to make sure that we're watertight. I certainly don't want to have another flood. Did I say that out loud? There are soft costs, right? So you have architects, engineers. We're going to have to hire a structural engineer as a next step, and furnishings.
When you say $1 million, is that an all-encompassing $1 million? That
Yes.
You're not asking for $1 million to start and then.
No.
That's correct. Mike.
Like Janet just pointed out, it wasn't really part of your mission statement. It got put there when P&Z put it there. And I guess I'm just a tad concerned that it might really, $1 million and then another $1 million, and it falls a little bit outside the library's mission. And yet you've got this idea of, making it into a meeting space. We could probably do other things for a lot less, like maybe a town greeting center or all that. And
that's super outside the library's mission.
That's what I'm saying, but maybe it doesn't need to be part of the library.
Well, is the town going to purchase the building to do that? Because
but I'm saying, but we got $1 million approved by the finance. I'm just bringing it up as
yeah.
Do you feel it fits? If you've got this idea, I guess I'm a little concerned that it's not exactly on point, that it could be used for other things, other purposes for a lot less money.
Well, I think to finish the building, whether or not it has acoustical elements or not, is still going to be a substantial cost, right? I should take you on a tour inside so you can see the condition that it's in. Yeah, you're coming Thursday, that's right. And so far as it's not within the library's mission, it's very much within the library's mission. We are creating programming, we are providing meeting space, we are the lever for cultural and nonprofit groups in the community. This is no different than what we're doing. We're just relieving some of the spaces inside the building that are already significantly overtaxed. So we are doing 60 to 70 private meetings per day in that building, taking over the Tate room, which is on the second floor, and each meeting may require a different setup, and taking over the auditorium space or the community room. If the soccer team wants to have a film showing, or a specific event, or the garden club needs to have a meeting or a speaker, et cetera, we are really taxed with people wanting to use our spaces. So, and I will say, I know for a fact that we're going to have some good interest in rental income because of some of the things we can add, like a kitchenette, and even the privacy of this space, the fact that it's slightly off the campus. There are some groups that don't want to meet in the library because we really, in the spirit of transparency, everything's glass, but some people don't want to be seen. And so we've had some very good feedback from some social services groups and others where there's a privacy opportunity in the space. So I would say, I can't wait to prove to you on Thursday how much a part of the mission it will be.
Him and then Jennifer.
So what's going on? You're getting a tour of the Legacy on Thursday?
Well, he's coming in to see the library, but if anybody wants to see the Legacy, they're welcome to.
So when I listened to the Board of Finance meeting, I think you talked about the grant process, and it's due maybe in September, and you won't know until November how much money.
Yeah, that's right.
So I also heard Todd talk about giving 5,000 for this year and then holding off on the next 500,000. So I'm wondering if we could see, we don't have to, and this question for Mike or for someone, we don't have to approve 2 years of capital, right? if we give 500,000 this year, we can decide next year how much to give based on the grant and based on the estimates. that you're gonna
It's
be
not as
giving them.
strong a statement to the Connecticut state to put in an earmark for a grant. You're not actually funding the money. You're just providing an earmark. I don't expect that you'd be spending that money in this. I mean, I don't know.
Right. No,
frankly.
I get, so what I'm saying is I feel more comfortable with the 500,000 for this year and then seeing how, then getting feedback from you, like how much did you get for the grant? And is there an estimate? You're going to put it out for bid and then we can contribute and decide how much we want to contribute next year. So that's just something that I'm just throwing out there to people. I think it's a little bit easier to agree to that based on, there's a lot of moving parts.
I would prefer that we went forward with $1 million one shot. So you can understand why.
I know.
Okay.
And then kind of got to get to
Okay,
them.
so I'd like to preface this that listened to that whole meeting, heard Todd's analysis, and in complete agreement with it. Having followed the whole history of this, I was even one of those early people that was invited in those long-term planning things, and I really had a lot of faith that you had a vision for what your needs were, and the town came back to you and said, that you would need to preserve the legacy building. So that was the town decided, yes, an unfunded mandate, a statement from the town. And I found it interesting, and I just sort of want to bring to everybody's attention that there was a vocal group of people who pushed for that. And after that happened, there was, as far as I could tell, no Friends of the Legacy building that was formed by and fundraising done by that. And so the many people who were incredibly generous towards the new building, I am very sympathetic to the fact that they would be tapped out to just sort of address Penny, and that if others want to step forward, in the community who were quite passionate about that, it would have been nice to see some fundraising there. So I'm supportive of this. And I would like to ask, just sort of, so the council can kind of consider this. If you were not to get the 1 million, and if you were to have this grant rejected, what then would become of the existing building?
Well, it's just pushing the project much further down the road. I think we would certainly do our best to explore where we would get to with the grant. We'd probably try to continue to do that. But we'd really be looking at a significant delay. And frankly, we're at a place now where we've got our 150th anniversary coming in 2027. And I'm cracking the whip a bit, trying to get everybody to be motivated so that this could open in our 150th anniversary year. It's a tight schedule, and Rob doesn't believe it, but it would be wonderful for us to be able to do that. I think otherwise you're looking at a much more elongated process and a more uncertain picture of how we're going to get to that finish line.
Lies fallow for the next.
Yeah, it will be unused. That's right.
To piggyback off of what Jen is saying, I think I contributed to the library fundraising for the capital campaign, in full disclosure, and the legacy building wasn't a part of that plan. And I know that that's true for a lot of people who donated. Having said that, I actually really like where it is. I think it was a super elegant solution to move it back and block the gas station. So it creates like a campus. So I've moved, right? I think it's great. And it's, I think a use for it sounds phenomenal. I think $1 million for what the community would get out of a space like this, particularly at night when meetings tend to run late and you can't keep the whole building. It's really hard to find meeting space in this town after a certain time. We have trouble securing space in town hall. So $1 million to me sounds like a deal, particularly when you consider that we gave $2 million towards a baseball field, which I was happy to support. I was happy to support, but taxpayers paid for a significant portion of a new baseball field. And a lot of people here don't play baseball. I don't, my kids don't, but I was happy to do that because we can do it. And we should have these wonderful facilities, particularly in the center of town. Like Dunning is going to come before us, and we're going to be looking at capital for that. So this to me seems like a terrific investment. And I also want to thank the board for repaying $2.3 million of a loan facility when typically you don't do that within 3 years. I mean, that's a significant that's a significant thing that we should recognize. Not only did they not take the full 10 million facility, it went down to 4, and then they've already paid back 2.3 million, which is incredible. So I would support this because I think it's like the playhouse or the powerhouse, like our fields. It should be done. It's sort of sad that it's sitting there, even though it's still a beautiful building.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I would just note in closing that to me, that building is a ghost sitting in the middle of the town. Something has to be done. You're bringing forward a viable plan. Your credit's good with the town, as Hillary just said. We ponied up 10 million that you could have taken. You took 4. You've been paying it down. You've just explained that the 1.7 is being looked at and taken care of over the course of time. I mean, what better partner could we have here? So to earmark $1 million, in my mind, is a no-brainer. So that's where I stand on that. With that said, and I think we're done, but I did want to mention the issue of the endowment, right?
Yeah.
Just I wanted to give a little plug on that because I didn't, I know pretty much everything about everything, just kidding. But I didn't know much about the world of library endowments and how important it is for our library to really start juicing the numbers there, because that's really where the library can become, I don't want to say self-sufficient at some point, but boy, that's really where the money.
That's
really
what
go.
I'm focused
So I
on.
just wanted to
you know.
give a quick plug if you'd like to.
Appreciate it. I've been there for 12 years, mostly, principally in the role as a development director. So I have an absolutely bird's eye view of this. And, we had to pull money from what was already meager endowment, including depleting our entire capital budget, as well as any cash we had in order to make this move. We've got a hole. We have to fill it. So as part of the strategic planning going forward, it's very much a focus, because if you're a town like Darien and you can throw off, $400,000 or more per year to your operating budget, that has a significant impact on what we're coming to you to ask and what we're demanding of our pretty small development team, right? We don't want to build a mega development team here to keep up with these increases in budget. So we want to be self-sustaining to the extent we can.
Great. Well, however we can help, I'm sure we'll all take a real hard look at that.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Thank you.
With that said, if there are no other questions for Ellen, we'll let her and the crew go there. We really appreciate your time. So thank you all very much. And thank you all for coming, the board members and everyone else in the audience, Wendy. Thank you very much. With that said, could I get a motion to adjourn? Eric. Second, Kim. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, everybody.
This saved my life.
Kim. Take these home. What's the matter?